when you produce plasma, you have a plasma in this condition. Where you create a plasma, you have a package. This package has a full spectrum of the energies within the gravitational magnetic field forces of this universe. It has not got any less and it has not got any more. So when you deal with a plasma, you open the plasma in a way you have a different gravitational magnetic field than when you are at this point. So here you have a gold, here you have copper, for example. So within the plasma which you have created or you release as a gas, you have a full spectrum. Depends, as we said, where you want to break into. So now we go back to the original teachings where we started. If you remember, we started with this. We started with copper. In the copper, we had what we called molecular structure, tightly bound structure. With creating the right amount of energy in the environment of the wire, we managed to change the molecular structure to atomic structure, what we call nanolayering. We've been through this many times. But now you will see what we are talking about, where I'm coming from. And this nanostructure is all connected to each other. And what you see on the nanomaterials which you have produced so much nano layers on your wire that in your wires, I'm trying to get hold of a nano material coated that we all understand. This is the wire, for example, you used. This is this. When you created the right temperature and heat, you created so much structure release that you become to this. At this level, you have still a matter structure, but a loose atomic matter structure, where here you had a molecular structure. This you call matter, this you call nano, which is what we call singularity. Then what you did, by applying again, changing the environment, do not forget, from here to here was a change of environment, which was heat. By changing the environment again, by putting this material, this state of matter, into a salt condition or in a current condition, we created loose plasmas, what we call GANs. No boundary. Now you have the plasmas. This is what you have covered up to now. This is 10 years of teaching and 2 years of solid demonstration for you to make. Now, the game you played is slightly different. Now you have the loose ganses. You put them into a core, or you put them in a cup. You put them together. So what you did, you collected the ganses. Don't forget, a GANS is a plasma, free plasma, just like a sun. It continuously radiates its energy, gravitational magnetic field, energy out. So when you have this container, it continuously releases both gravitational and magnetical. Now, where from this point, we have entered the space technology, where Keshe Foundation sits. You brought your GANs into the container. Now, instead of each one releasing a small amount of energy, now you have collective energy. So, what you've done and what you're doing is, from now on, the game changes. You have two choices. Here, in the matter structure, the gravitational magnetic field bound is in the matter state. Here, you have a full spectrum. The field magnetic gravitation. So now we can play the reverse, which means now by having a full package, we can go backwards, which means now we can go to become nano, or the strength of the nano of a matter, and then if we decide to convert into matter. If you look, is process reversed. And this was the matter state to GANs. This is something none of you have understood, and you have to start understanding. Now that you have this, which releases energy as a plasmatic condition, you have to decide how and where you want the plasma to be. Would you like a plasma of energy of a hydrogen, or would you like the plasma of water? Would you like to have water in a tangible way, or would you like just to have the magnetic gravitational strength of the water without actually having physically the water? This is where the change comes. This is where we go from now on. This is where space teaching, space institute, you need aluminium to build structure in space. So now we go through this process of conversion of a plasma into desired entity. I have taught you this, you all know this, but you never stood still to understand what it means. You are looking to take energy from this unit when it's delivered to you within the next few days to power the house. But if the Keshe Foundation team worldwide understand what is being taught, go back on all the teaching of the Keshe Foundation, how you transferred the taste and the smell of banana into the water, now go the reverse. Then what you do, this unit is your OASIS system. This unit gives you not only the power. Arman is making a unit in America using the same copper, using the same process, and is plugging it into the American system at 110. He brings the system with him here, and we plug it the same we use to 2240. There is no transformers. There is no change of transferring from one voltage to another, because the system decides what voltage, what power in the strength of vibration of the electron it needs. So if you understood this, this should be no problem. And if you understood this, you understand in a space we do not need to take any matter with us. A box like this, which can gather the energy or release the energy of the plasma, then you become the master of destiny. You want hydrogen? Would you like water? Or would you like aluminium? Or gold? Or whatever in your space you might need. This can become your medicine. You come across the energy transfer which can dislocate or energize one of the cells in your body. You tap into it, you drain it, Or, as we've seen with the pens which has been produced, the process to be reversed back into its originality. What does this mean? We show you the 3 model of the pen which has been produced. This is the pen. This is the size of the pen you will see, which will be done with the tip closed. This will be is manufactured in a beautiful way, and the shape of the power unit and the pen and everything which the Keshe Foundation supplies will be the same. And manufacturers have decided to be white, the sign of purity, because the knowledge is pure and plasma is clean. You decide what to do with it. So you see for the first time the pen will be released in this format. The manufacturers have gone for production of 1 million units to be released by the end of October. It will cover all the necessary applications of it. But if you understand with this pen, is exactly what happens with this position. At this point, you're creating a strength of magnetic field. If this strength of magnetic field in your body is of a specific disease, because the pen produces and releases a spectrum of the plasma, it will match into it in any shape or form. So what happened? Your pen, that's what it does. And here, when there is an unbalance between the gravitational and magnetic field in respect to its environment, it connects with the system inside and it transfers the energy, so the balance is release of pain to you. Because pain is plasmatic, pain is current flow at the electron vibration, as you call it, but as we call it, it's different strength plasmatic condition in the gaseous state of the matter in the body of the man. Remember one thing, then you understand how the transfer of field is done. In the new system, when you receive and the operation of all your plasma systems, you have missed a very vital point. Some of you must have seen it, some of you understand it. This is for those who did not understand. Even if you go to the original system, I'll put this away. Even if you go to the very original system, which we've seen it with all the plasma conditions, and then we saw Alex bringing it to beads, or what do you call it. You always needed a connection to the main, where on the other side you could release energy. And none of you ever understood the process. Maybe we explained it in a totally different way you understand. In this section, you have released and you continuously have the availability of the same thing as this cup. You have created a cup, but in a specific form that it has both gravitational field and magnetical field play. So, go back to the teaching of Ninov, 129. 129, as I've mentioned so many times, was created because the set with the GANs, which is this, had comparison plasma weaker that it had to feed. And that's how we detected it. So it needed a comparison point that it could act and release upon. When you connect your systems to main, you create this comparison point. You're not tapping into the energy of the main, but the main becomes comparison point for the energy to be available. And now you have a system that compares itself with this point, So it allows the plasma to be released at what the point of demand is. So how you release energy from unit, and you can release energy in vast quantities, is because of the isolation in the frequency of flow. This always follow this, and if you have an AC, it follows this, so it can supply any voltage, any current you need, 220, 210, because it has a point of reference isolation. So you dictate through this what to release this. But don't forget, once you add a unit here, you have created a flow. So the plasma is continuously available at the level of the source. You're working with nano-coated materials, which means the current does not go through the wire, but it goes through the nano layer. At zero resistance, superconductivity for plasma transfer. So now, in one stroke, and it's now time for a lot of you to go back and reassess, reevaluate. How, now that you produce the plasma, you can convert the plasma to what you need. Energy, prana, aluminum, and how he made a capacitor, and he put transformation in between that he could make the circle. In so many ways, I have no doubt in the integrity of what he's shown us, what he explains to us. So he has become part of the Keshe Foundation team to develop the conversion of this process. So now what you see is, in fact, what we promised. This is not your power unit. This is your OSS system. If you manage to structure a field transfer across this box will give you the shelter. It will give you the field barrier exactly as you expect. If you know how to tap to its energy, you can have whatever you need at the point of need. Now your job is to transfer a plasma into desired strength at the point of demand. You want to have a heat to keep yourself warm without the physicality of the matter. You want to convert that heat to become a copper, the field of the plasma to be whatever you like. So in a simple way, before we start our new sessions of teachings on a regular basis as a what we call seminars from next Tuesday for the masters and the what we call the 3-year course in October. Now you see the task. The task is very simple. Up to now we dealt with matter, and matter was everything we know. Now that we know we can separate the matter to plasma, is how to convert the plasma to what we need. You have now what I call a bowl of milk. You want to make cheese out of it, or you want yogurt out of it, you want to make it to a pancake or whatever. You have the dough. And the dough comes from this machine. Try to understand the process. If I put this in this position, then in its connection, you decide. This is more or less what you're going to get. On the house unit, you get 2 USB and 1 multi-point. Because to us, this is obsolete, because this is where you sit on a DC. Plasma is always DC. So You can even from these supply your household goods as you are used to it. So now what you see is a system which in fact will meet every demand of a band in the space. Is now we have understood how to loosen the structure and how in loosening it, bring it together, we can release this energy the way as we want to collect. A lot of you play with the water of the GANs, a lot of you play with the copper oxide of the GANs. It is irrespective. Every GANs has the total energy. And this is why a lot of you have been puzzled by it. The strength of the material you put in is the limitation of the field. So when you have, as we've seen done by Renan, I said to Renan the other day, if you remember, he put a pin of copper. The windings he did came from the part of the teaching which we were doing with him, from another side of the development. As he's part of the development side of the Keshe Foundation, he brought part of the knowledge which wasn't open to anyone into this, and all of you start making double cores. Because this core is gravitational and this one is magnetical, and this center decides how much of it will go to which one. That's how your pen works. And because it's the field, the pen, when you look at it, in fact, the field of the pen is like this. With the pointing, you direct it. And that's why when it comes in touch, even you don't need to touch the body. When you point it as where there is this difference, if you remember with your generator, I try to be more open, where there is a difference because there is a pain, there is oscillation, the rest of the skin of the man, the muscle, has a steady current flow. So it does not interact. The only point which interacts is with the oscillation where the pain is released. So automatically it brings the balance. Now you understand the science. Why these pens are effective. Because if this is my finger, and I have the pain here, at this point on my skin, I don't have disturbances around it. So when I pinpoint, exactly like where you put an alternative current in, I connect where there is a variation, where the pain is. Because when there is a pain, it means information coming through the nerve. It has a problem to be absorbed and follow. So it disperses. It goes back on the nerve through the copper connection of the tissue to inform there is a problem, and you feel it as a nerve, as a pain. But don't forget, your material inside the pen is copper based, so it's a matching of your skin. So immediately the variation at the point connects with your system, it balances gravitational magnetic field, and you see the loss of pain. So this is the science behind what you're doing. There is no difference between your pen and your power generator. But if you understood this, and you can take it a step further, now you understand a very major breakthrough. And most of you will go with it. This was the pain on my finger. This is the finger. This is the pen without touching it. But the field flow between the two, due to the gravitational magnetic field created by winding, even by the nanolayers themselves behave like a winding, you create a flow of gravitational magnetic field from point of the pain to the pen. If you understood this, you understand a very simple principle. Power transmission without the need for physical contact. We don't need cables, we don't need wires, we don't need, very much like the mobile phones. You create a power point with alternation and you move your point to where you need to be in balance with the alternation of gravitational magnetic field. No cables, instantaneous transmission of the power to the source. And if you understood this, it means in your homes you do not need wiring. And if you understood this, you understand how Tesla worked. Left a unit in Moscow, drove a car for 2 years in New York. In understanding, he only, to his thought, was working with magnetical. But he never realized he has already started working with gravitational too, because it had to be a loop closed. So Tesla in his system achieved the unity of power, transmission and gravitational magnetic field. But the next step you have to consider is how you can convert this plasmatic flow in a container to motion. Our team are working on, they've tested yesterday and they're testing on a frequent basis now, a motor car without engine. Literally what we call the disease of this planet, the four-wheelers. How do you convert a plasmatic field into motion? Where do you create and what do you have to do? Then it becoming banana, it becomes motion. Do we need to have the wheels to create the motion? Or do we and can we create a flow in a plasmatic to the body of the system that the system finds is plasmatic gravitational magnetic field in respect to Earth? Some of you report when using the system in your starter motor, or what you call it, the battery or the spark plug, much ease of drive. If you connect it long enough, the whole structure will be nano-coated, and in nano-coating, when it receives the power supply, it does exactly as you're doing here. It will find its gravitational magnetic field not in the matter state, but a composition of inertia and gravity, and you will understand you can fly. There is no difference between this structure and this structure. You can move your power supplies in the, what you call the engine section. It's irrelevant. As long as you can nano-coat, the faster you can nano-coat the structure, now you have entity enclosed. The wheel is irrelevant. And how you transfer this motion of the plasma in a free direction to a physical motion is your decision. You can put the wheels on it, or as the woman says, put a ring on it. It's very easy. A lot of you have not understood how the use of double ring can convert the energy from plasmatic to back to motion. Don't forget, motion of electron, and you release the plasma difference. How come you cannot use a reverse process to reverse the plasma back into the motion, but in the matter state. The current flow in your present grid is created through the vibration of electron. It's motion. So now you have a plasma. It should be very easy for you to create motion. Doesn't matter electron or a car. These are the important points that we enter. So those who were hoping they get a power supply, they don't have any more bills to pay. Now, if you understood the use of the system, you have everything you need. Food, water, banana, still it's you who has to dictate it. But go back to the teaching we learned from our friends. You remember? An orange or a watermelon, putting different gases around the object in the water, gave the taste and feeling of eating the orange. What was it? Was that you needed a media of the water to convert. Now you have to find a media that you can do the conversion to what you need. Do not forget main position on this planet. The matter state of this planet is subjected to number of things. Gravitational magnetic field of the system itself, which is the Earth. Gravitational magnetic field system of the solar system, and then gravitational magnetic field of the galaxy and the universe. Instead of you trying to copy the gases of copper oxide and NHO, you have to start expanding their knowledge into creating the gravitational overall of the universal structure, that you can produce this matter anywhere in the universe. Because once you leave Earth, water in this shape, where H2O comes in, not necessarily will be in liquid condition. So now, instead of looking at the water, you have to look in a condition of the plasma strength, which the interaction of the power plasma from your unit allows the creation of a desired material. In a way, you got to start learning how to make filters, plasmatic filters. Now you have to start working that you got the ganses, you saw the effect of the GANs in how to convert the GANs into matter, mostly in energy, I should say, matter and motion. You have to start developing filters, and I'm sure within the next couple of weeks, a lot of you will start producing everything you need. Reversal of diseases with this technology is child's play. Now you got to go the reverse the way you came. You came all the way to the top to understand plasma. Now you have to learn your way back down to create matter or motion by the Marcos' favorite word, potential, the gradient. Yeah, depends where you take the gradient. It gives you the matter, the energy, the plasma, and whatever you need. Go back to your knowledge. Go back to your bank of knowledge. We received a lot of beautiful knowledge from our friends last week from Mexico. He explained in detail, and if you could listen to it and go back over it, you understand how you create matter out of plasma. He waters. He puts water through nano-coated material, which transfers the energy of the GANs, because in this stage, the energy of the water is in the GANs state, a strength. And then when it comes to the plant, it converts it to the matter that the plant grows or creates different condition of more fruit, more harvest. So the extra is the extra energy which is delivered by the pipe, or what he calls it, by the GANs into the environment. So he has already shown you how to convert plasma into matter. He uses the same water to create corn, he uses the same water to create lettuce. You understand? So now you have to understand the process. Plasmatic water is all in a GANs state of energy, and when it comes to the plant, according to the strength, it converts itself into higher growth, higher expansion of the gravitational magnetic field. Realize something which maybe is important, maybe not, but in your terms and conditions you will understand more in depth. I've said this before, and that is, they say in the body of a man there is enough at this size. It's you who decides what the environment allows the GANs to grow into according to its central strength. Then you have a seed which is 1 gram, and the same seed can weigh 10 grams or 20 grams. And you say you have a bigger harvest, because you change the environment and the energy which is fed within the environment. Where in the matter state, the heat and pressure does that. Here, with the GANs, you play with the environment. That's why when you throw nails and you throw meshes, as our friend told us from Brazil, you create the environment within the farm, not just on the piece of land. You got a lot to do in your farm. Next year harvest should be 10 times more. So now maybe today's teaching brings a closure to matter state and conversion of matter state to plasma, as you call GANs, and then conversion of the GANs to matter in strength or tangibility. Most of the time you do not need tangibility, you need the strength. Especially in human body, you work on the strength. Don't forget, when you eat the food, it goes in your stomach, it's in the GANs state, it releases the energy of the plasma of the GANs, not the matter. So in a space, you don't look for having a banana, you look for what banana releases in the body of the man, and what the strength that the body needs, you release that energy to the body. So maybe from today's teaching, we start the true space technology. Because up to now, we came to understand the position of the separation of the matter to plasma. And now, as the space is made by and through plasmas, we go from the plasma to do the job of the creator, to produce whatever we need. Whatever we need, at a point of demand. It's you who has to make the filters. Some of you, like McNassif, understood part of the process, but you did not follow it through. If you follow it through, you remember what Nassif did. He made a loop, and to his understanding, the 8th loop should give oxygen or water or hydrogen, and he collects water. If you can change and plug this to your power supply, now you decide what each loop can make. It depends what filter you place at a point of turn. You have water here and you collect meat here. How do you make such a filter? How do you create such a filter? Go back to the teaching. I was teaching to our team yesterday. Go back to the original teachings. If you remember, in the Sensano, we had those hydrogen, what do you call it, reactors. And I kept on saying, and we did some tests with the knowledge seekers. We put some reactors flat, we put some reactors standing up. We brought the reactors back and forth. Remember? Now, with the knowledge you have, and you understand the connection, and what we showed in the last day of the teaching here, before we broke up for summer, you remember the loop which Marco made with 6 and 12 rings. You have your 3 reactors as a base, and you have your reactor in the middle. If you look at the combination, every element in the universe as energy and matter is in your hand. You can change the gravitational, or you can change the magnetical. You call it isotopes, or you call it different elements. Very low gravitational, very low magnetical. Hydrogen. Move slightly higher in gravity. Heavier material with 2 electrons, power energy. Helium. You understand? What you made? What I told you is one of the most beautiful units. Because now, with what you have, you increase slightly the gravitational point further. You bring the energy of gravitation with the magnetical direction. You have carbon. And so on. Remember, one point is missing. These are not connected. For this reason, to be able to change the power, I gave you 2 things. A winding coil inside and a winding coil outside. You want to increase the gravitational field. To go up the scale, you use your spring in the center. You want to increase magnetical, you go with the outside. So, at the same time, because you have a gravitational magnetic field base, you limit the structure of the 2 to the body of man, the environment of the earth. So everything you produce fits into the structure of the man. That's why, if you go back to the teaching, originally I explained to you that not necessarily when you have a guest from a space can come within the space which you live, because you have created a gravitational magnetic field which fits the matter state of your body, not the matter state of theirs. So now, if you understood this, and you can create a system in this position, you collect water somewhere, because then you can connect yourself with something of the field of the oxygen that in combination with the tool produces you at certain given point as much water as you need, while in another point you're building copper, and another point you're making banana. But if you can keep the condition float constant, and you understood the condition of the creation from the beginning, where you created the 3 base reactor, and what was missing in all your teachings was the filtering, then you understand how you can filter that the gravitational magnetic field of the totality gives you the gravitational magnetic field of point of destination. And don't forget the pen and my finger. You don't need to touch. You have the gravitational magnetic field, the connection is made, and what is stronger, which is this, absorbs from the weaker. Your craft is a smaller, lighter weight by mass, point of destination is stronger. The way you transferred yourself, the energy from there to there within 10 seconds, as Renan keeps on telling us, within 10 seconds there is no more pain. Within 10 seconds you can be anywhere in the universe. There is no difference between your pen and your craft. If you understand the totality of the concept of transfer and balance of the energy in gravitational magnetic field.